Oh, the holidays when you're an adult child of a narcissistic parent, they can be not the most wonderful time of the year. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about feeling guilty for setting boundaries with your narcissistic parent during the holiday season. Welcome or welcome back to the channel. I'm Coach Adriana. I'm a fellow survivor of narcissistic abuse myself, and my own healing journey inspired me to become a coach. I empower survivors of narcissistic abuse to heal, set boundaries, live life on their own terms. And if you're interested in learning more or finding more resources or ways to work with me, check out the link in the description under this video. Now, without further ado, let's get into it and let's get your shift together. If you are feeling guilty for setting boundaries with your narcissistic parent this holiday season, I want to remind you that, first of all, you're not alone. So many survivors are going through this in real time right now, especially with everything approaching. And narcissistic parents, they are the masters of guilt. They will guilt trip you so that you change your mind about your boundaries. Maybe you have gone low or no contact with them. Amazing if you did, congratulations. And then obviously the holiday hoovers start to happen, right? Anytime there's a holiday, a birthday, event, something you're looking forward to, a funeral, whatever it is, they will hoover, and that's basically when the narcissist sucks you back in and restarts that cycle of abuse. I did create a video recently about the cycle of abuse. You can check it out up here if it pops up somewhere, and so you understand a bit more about love bomb, devalue, discard, hoover, rinse, and repeat. And so narcissistic parents, they pretty much program you with guilt from day one, because people who feel guilty are easier to control, and so they will guilt trip you during the holidays, especially if you have lowered contact with them. Because then when you feel guilty, you're easier to control and you're more likely to change your mind about your boundaries. Because after all, it's the holidays. That's your mother. That's your father. They only have so much limited time left on this planet, etc., etc. And let's just forget about all of the abuse, right? That's what the conditioning does to us. And this benefits them because then you're more likely to act on that guilt if you are feeling it and not have those boundaries anymore. Make up for the holidays, let's be one big happy family, and then of course they get to restart that cycle of abuse all over again. And this is all too common, especially right now during the holiday season. It's totally a shit show. And the thing is that when something's not about a narcissist, they make it about them. Holidays are about family, getting together, being with people that you like, and whatever, whether it's chosen family or not. And narcissists will literally take that concept and twist it in whichever way suits them. And most of society is willing to accept that, oh yeah, your family, you need to spend the holidays with your family. And so therefore your narcissistic parents will make the holidays about themselves. And now they're going to try to guilt you, get that control over you. The whole shitstorm cycle happens again and again and again until it gets old for you and you decide that enough is enough. But sometimes it can take a while to get to that point, and it is what it is. But don't forget that you also have a limited amount of time on this planet as well. Don't surround yourself with people who are on a mission to destroy you. And whether your boundary is full no contact, low contact, or even gray rock, like, maybe you still live with your narcissistic parent, you're kind of stuck, you're saving up to move out, gray rock's really your best bet. Or maybe you tried to set a simple boundary, like, we're not going to discuss this topic during our family holiday dinner, and then you're feeling guilty about it. Remember that it's completely normal to feel guilty, whatever your boundary is. Chances are you're probably going to feel guilty. If you didn't feel guilty, that would probably be weird just because you've been so conditioned with guilt. And what guilt really means is not that you are guilty of committing a horrible, disgusting, heinous crime and you're the worst person in the world. That's what it feels like, right? And that's why narcissistic parents love to use guilt to control their adult children, right? They start off when you're a child, and then as you become an adult, you're still controlled by that guilt. And when you're a normal person with empathy and you feel guilty, what that means is that you're just the type of person who does not want the other person to feel pain because of you. It's not a sign that you made a huge mistake by setting these boundaries. It doesn't mean that you were too harsh. It doesn't mean anything other than you are a great, wonderful person who has empathy. You don't want other people to feel pain because of you, and that's amazing. Your narcissistic parents should be feeling guilty for abusing you for your entire life, but they're not going to take accountability, so they project that guilt onto you, and you are feeling guilty, and now it's less likely that you're gonna break off contact with the narcissistic parent just because That's sort of how we're biologically wired. You have no choice but to trust your parent as a child. And if they manipulate you and they're abusive, they will continue doing that well into adulthood. Something that really blew my mind on my own healing journey was learning that parents are actually supposed to help their children to navigate the difficult emotions that life throws at them. That was completely mind blasting for me. And, rather than causing those emotions in order to use them as a manipulation tactic against those children in the future. So I was just like completely flabbergasted by this whole concept because I didn't realize, oh, normal parents do exist and normal parents do actually help their children navigate life because that's kind of what they were actually supposed to do. But when we're raised by narcissists, we are conditioned to believe that the guilt means we're bad, and therefore we have to do whatever we can in order to make the other person happy so we don't feel guilty anymore. It's really about getting away from that guilt, and the truth is that you have to actually process that guilt and feel that guilt so you can release the guilt, which is easier said than done. But when we are repressing the guilt, it goes nowhere. When we're acting on that guilt, it's a form of repression because now we're making a decision that's going to serve the narcissist rather than reflecting on the guilt, allowing ourselves to feel it, getting the message that we needed to get from the guilt that this wasn't your guilt to carry to begin with, but people suck, it is what it is. Instead of letting that message also motivate you to keep your boundaries, you end up acting on the guilt and you increase contact. And then, it's a shitstorm. You go through that cycle again and again. And then we stay confused because we're repressing the guilt. We don't process and release it to gain any clarity because nobody taught us how to do any of this. So I'm gonna share with you now 5 tips on how you can deal with the guilt from your narcissistic parent this holiday season. Number 1 is to remind yourself that you did nothing wrong. Like I said before, just because you feel guilty, it doesn't mean that you are guilty of committing a horrible crime. Feelings are not facts. Number 2 is to pause and take 3 deep breaths. There is always power in pausing so that you don't act on your emotions. And then when you just consciously take those 3 deep breaths, that can really sort of help to calm the nervous system a little bit when you're in that big emotional response. And it can kind of help you ground back into reality that, oh, wait a minute, this is a guilt trip. I'm not engaging in this. I know this is a trap. And, that's enough is enough, right? Like sometimes pausing can really bring that perspective up. Tip number 3 is to journal about how you're feeling guilty for whatever the situation is and just sort of seeing where that takes you. Here are the instructions: pen, paper, set a 20-minute timer. Vomit all of your thoughts about how guilty you feel on that paper, and then once the timer goes off, destroy the paper. And this leads into step number 4, and that is just notice what that guilt feels like in your body. And it's going to be a lot easier for you to access it in your body if you have done the journaling and destroying it right after. And then let yourself sit with that guilt, and remember that the more you accept it being there, as horrible as it feels, the faster it will go away. Because if you keep pushing it down, guess what? Nothing changes. And if you want to continue the patterns and behaviors that led you to this video, don't journal, don't do the inner work, right? Like nothing's going to change if you don't change at the end of the day. And it's really about figuring out the emotional aspect of things. If you are interested, I do have a 5-day guilt detox. It's a 5-day mini course. It's only $7, and it can really help you to understand the tactic of guilt trips in general and how to work through the guilt so that when a narcissist tries to guilt you, it will no longer affect you. The link is in the description underneath this video. If you're interested, again, it's only $7 and it's an amazing 5-day mini course. And now step number 5, once you have actually sat with the guilt for a few minutes, notice the intensity level of it. It's probably going to be significantly less, or at least a little bit less. But regardless, it will be somewhat less. Even if it's just a little less, that's still a win. And notice what kind of clarity you gain from actually sitting with that feeling. And the thing is, with emotions, the lifespan of an emotion is really only 90 seconds. That's all the time you need to sit with that emotion. But getting to that point of acceptance that this emotion feels like crap is the most time-consuming part. That can take years for a lot of people. And so here's a time saver for you. Let yourself feel the horrendousness of the emotion. It will die down. And that's where the clarity will come through, because now you've created space. And don't forget that healing's not an overnight process. So just because you journal about feeling guilty one time, it doesn't mean you're never gonna feel guilty ever again in your life. Healing's literally a lifestyle change, and it's something you want to continue doing for a long period of time. I'm still on my healing journey. I don't think the healing journey ever really ends. So now is a great time to start. Don't forget you're not alone, and there's a whole community of people out there who know exactly what you're going through and are going through the same thing. If that's something you want to take part of, I'd love to invite you to my exclusive community membership. It's less than $1 per day to get started. You can connect with fellow survivors, access my audio courses, resources, and tools, plus get exclusive access to my holiday masterclass replay for this family scapegoat, and so many other amazing bonuses and wonderful tools. The link for that is at the link in the description. That's it for today's video. Thanks so much for being here, and I'll see you next time. Bye.